Hi there, it's David O in the backyard. It stopped raining long enough for me to do my shiur today. Today is Parsha VAYIKRa, also Shabbos Zachor, also just a few days before Purim. So, just a quick review. Parsha Zachor is to remind us of not to forget the war with Amalek. What is Amalek? Amalek is a tribe, but Amalek is also something, it's a kind of doubt within us that we struggle with. I'll say this for another time, and many people will talk to you about Amalek in the next few days. As for Purim, well, first of all, Rebbitzin will probably do a shiur for Purim. She always does. And I will try to do one, but no promises. So let's talk about VAYIKRa for a moment. VAYIKRa is most famous for the first word, and God called to Moshe to come into the Mishkan, right? And it ends with a very small aleph, because the word VAYIKRa, as opposed to VAYIKAR, is a sign of affection between God and Moshe Rabbeinu. When he calls to Bilam, he says VAYIKAR. In this case, he says VAYIKRa. Moshe, being humble, said, I don't need this special aleph at the end. I'm like everybody else. God said, no, you're beloved to me, you're special. End this word with an aleph as I wish you to. Moshe agreed to, but made it a very small aleph. And it's a wonderful story and meaningful. Meaningful about leadership. And actually, this is the topic I wanted to talk about. Maybe it's appropriate because it seems like everybody is in election fever, especially here in Eretz Yisrael, but also in Canada, also in the U.S. Things are heating up everywhere. The Torah, when it talks about a sin offering, it talks about a mistake that a person makes. And if a person or if a priest or almost anybody makes an error, they can bring a sin offering, a burnt offering. When it talks about the Nasi, the leader, the prince, the president of the community, of the society, of the nation, the Nasi, it doesn't say if he sins. It says when he sins. Now that's an interesting thing. It's like a guarantee. My thoughts today come from Rabbi Shmuel Golden, who's written Unlocked Torah Text, and he has very interesting insight into this idea of when. There's the idea of power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It seems like there's a relationship always between sin and power. Very few exceptions. Right? The Torah brings examples of those people who died without sin, or the Talmud does. I'm sorry, the oral Torah. The Talmud does, and it describes them as following: those who died without sin include Binyamin, the son of Yaakov, Amram, the father of Moshe, Ishai, the father of David, Kilav, the son of David. And Chazal, our sages, asked this question: why are each of them named in relation to a more famous relative? That is to say, Binyamin is very important. He's the founder of a tribe. But Yaakov is one of our fathers, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Amram, he is most famous for, he's most famous for being the father of Moshe. Ishai, what do we remember about Ishai? Well, he died without sin. He's the father of David. Kilav, he's most famous for being the son of David. Now, it seems that they're relatives, that is, say, Yaakov, Moshe, David, and David the second time, right, are not individuals who died without sin. But they have in common that they are all leaders of the Jewish people. So it seems that leadership carries with it the risks. And if you don't want to risk any possibility of sin, you should avoid leadership. But our nation needs leadership. It's very important. Rabbi Golden points out in his analysis that in our day school learning, we put such an emphasis on personal piety that we don't really put enough emphasis on the importance of the qualities of leadership. And as a consequence, we may be denying the Jewish people some of the great potential leaders that we have. Now, I want to add one thought to this, which is very, very important. And that is the difference, my experience in the difference between the diaspora and Eretz Yisrael, Medinat Yisrael. Here in Eretz Yisrael, it's different. Leadership is taught, it seems like, from the cradle up. It's a quality of Israelis. Everybody knows exactly what you should do. But it's not just that they're pushing. Israel is a nation, tragically, that has been at war from before day one. And Israeli leaders, military leaders, do not fight from headquarters. They lead their troops. Now, of course, there's a tragic risk with leading your troops. If you're in the front, you'd take a bullet. If that's a reality, right, then there must be others who can step in and be leaders. And the consequence of it is Israeli military training teaches every soldier that you may become a leader of your group of 10. If the leader of a group of 10 is wounded, or heaven forbid, killed, right, then somebody must step forward and take the leadership. And the nature of the Israeli mindset, Baruch Hashem, is leadership. Now I would add, tragically, it seems that it carries with it exactly the concerns that the Talmud says, or that the Torah says. When the leader sins, not if. Right? So we live with this, and we also live with the possibility of tshuva. I would choose the second system over such an emphasis in piety that you deny leadership as a goal. Those are my thoughts on VAYIKRa. I'm going to try and get back to you before Purim. If not, have a Freilich of Purim. David Ostriker, Parsha VAYIKRa, in Overcast Karmi'El. Shabbat Shalom.